Good morning, everybody. This is Laz. Join you. Do me one favor, hit that subscribe button. Also hit the like button because it helps the algorithm. I would gladly appreciate it. So, I'm going to get into this video with Jordan Peterson, and they're going to ask him a question about trans women, trans men, or whatever it is. We're going to get into it. Without further ado.
One of our guests of the day, the other one today, is a man you may recognise, or maybe you don't. Jordan Peterson has achieved that rare feat, becoming a global superstar academic. So how did he become so well known? He first came to national prominence in Canada in 2016 in a debate about new laws on gender identity. Bill C-16 made it an offence to refuse to call someone by their chosen gender pronoun. Jordan Peterson argued that this would infringe free speech, while some supporters of the bill said he was advocating prejudice. From there, his YouTube star took off, and he has now over 1 million subscribers. And his videos, where he talks everything from identity politics, which we've touched on, to the Bible, to Disney movies, have been viewed over 150 million times. Gosh, that's about the same number of viewers we have on this programme. Last year, he supported ex-Google employee James Damore, who had been fired for suggesting men and women have different interests due to biological differences. And his latest book, 12 Rules for Life, has taken him on a global tour promoting his ideas, and just this week he sold out the 1,000-seater Emmanuel Centre around the corner here in Westminster. So Jordan, you've done endless interviews. You've been publicising your book, and they've generated plenty of heated debate.
No, I actually sold out the Apollo. It had 5,000 seats.
All right, stop boasting. Do you think, though, because of the heat that has been generated, that your views have been misrepresented at times?
Oh, definitely, but that's, that's part and parcel of the process. I did take a very forceful stance, let's say, against some of the excesses of the radical left-wingers, and it's in their best interest to paint me as somehow a figure of the extreme right, because then I don't have to be contended with. But, I mean, it's easy for people's views to be oversimplified in a very large public debate.
I mean, in terms of some of the issues, I mean, you say you've been painted as an extreme right-winger.
No, some people have tried that. Not very successfully, but they've tried it.
And you came to prominence in part over your opposition to this law that we just talked about in Canada, proposing the use of preferred pronouns for transgender people. Just for clarity...
Mandating them.
Yeah.
Right.
Saying that you should do it.
No,
but,
that you had to do it.
Right, you had to do it by law.
Right.
But just for clarity, do you think a trans woman is a real woman?
I don't really like the way those questions are formulated. I don't know what that means. What do you mean a real woman?
Well, I'm asking you, in your mind, it depends what you think a real woman is, but do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant. It doesn't necessarily mean that I don't think that people should be treated with respect and dignity if they happen not to fit easily into a gender category. That's a different issue.
Right.
But it's a matter of definition. And I actually think it's a foolish argument in some sense. Because what do you mean by real?
I like Jordan Peterson. It is. It's a dumb argument. It's not even an argument. And listen, God made men, and the opposite of men is a woman. Woman. So, and that's just what it is, man. He is, getting bashed, and people want to condemn him because he's not a part of that agenda of just being acceptive of everything. Just accepting pretty much anything for that matter. But let's get into it.
Well, I mean, you've just clarified that, though. You don't think that a trans woman is a woman. And do you think that that is what is behind or explains your opposition to this idea of a law mandating you to use a preferred pronoun, is because you don't actually believe that that's the truth, that a trans woman is a woman and therefore you can't use that pronoun?
No, that's not my argument at
Really?
all. Yeah, really. My argument is that the government shouldn't compel voluntary speech.
No, but I know what your argument is, and
No,
you've
but
made
that's
it very
really
clearly.
it. No, but that's exactly it. There's
but the
no behind.
motivation
There's
behind
no motivation behind it.
But you don't believe
I wouldn't
a trans woman
put
is a woman?
everything on my online in my life to take the stance I did unless I had thought that through very deeply. And I've thought it through very deeply. There aren't hidden motivations that have to do with some arbitrary prejudice against trans people.
Okay.
It's pure and simply this. There's never been a time in English common law history where the government compelled speech, and the Canadian government dared to do that. And that was unacceptable. And they masked it with this show of compassion for the oppressed, and I don't buy it.
Right, but you would, as I think you've said, at an individual level, if somebody asked you, if somebody asked you to use a particular pronoun, you would do so.
Well, I have.
You have?
Yes.
Right, fine.
Yes.
Let's talk about feminism. Are you a feminist?
No, not as it's currently defined, certainly not.
No. Well, in any other definition?
Well, I think that anybody who doesn't think that the competitive landscape should be opened up for equality of opportunity is not thinking. And so everyone's interests are better served if people have as equal access to opportunity to display their talents and to manifest their talents in the world as possible.
There's only one definition for feminist, last I checked. My goodness. Let's get into it.
So in that sense, certainly. But feminism now, and this is why it's so deeply unpopular, a very small minority of women in the UK identify as feminists. And the reason for that is it's primarily become an ideological weapon. And it's an ideology that I detest,
Yes.
actually. The ideology that it's associated with, collectivist ideology.
Right. I mean, OK, and that's your view about feminism. Aisha, are you a feminist?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a very proud feminist. And when I was a special advisor in government...
Well, you heard what she said. She's a proud feminist. You know, my question would be to you, ladies and gentlemen, is feminist a good thing? Is it helping? Do we need it? Where did it come from? Let's get back into it.
I worked on women and equality issues, and I'm very proud actually of a piece of legislation I got on the statute book with my former boss Harriet Harman, the Equality Act in 2010, which strengthened our anti-discrimination laws. And I fought very hard to get more women into public life, into the Labour Party, and I'm very, very proud of being a feminist, hence my pink dress.
Oh, well, all right. Obviously reverting to type then in the pink dress.
Absolutely, well...
You would like men to regain or reclaim their strength physically, mentally and morally. Is that broadly correct?
I would say morally, fundamentally, but I think the other things go along with that.
Right, and if that
But it isn't men precisely who I'm speaking to. It's people. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm actually interested in individuals, and I'm interested in their fortification against tragedy. You know, every time I do an interview, the interview is always political. It's always political.
Well, the clue is in the title of this programme. We are the Daily Politics.
No, fair enough. No, look, fair enough. And I'm not casting aspersions at this programme, but the fundamental news that's important about what I'm doing isn't the political element. And the people who talk to me don't talk politically. They say they've watched my lectures.
But part
and
of it is that I think for a lot of people the kind of personal does become the political.
Or the political becomes the personal.
Yeah, and I think in terms of
but in this situation, a lot of people are wrong, because primarily what's happening is people are watching my lectures, and as a consequence, their lives are improving dramatically.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure people are have had a huge conversion after, and they're much happier once they've been.
It's not a conversion.
But
it's
what I would like to do is kind of almost. I think at the moment the discussion about feminism is very divisive, and sometimes it can sort of be like, okay, men have to lose and women have to gain. Actually, everybody has a lot to gain by greater equality. Now, whether you get the equality of outcome that you want, I think only time will tell. But certainly, equality of opportunity is very important. And actually,
we can agree on that.
And a lot of men would benefit from that. So I think a lot of men are having a lot of crises at the moment in terms of mental health, suicide issues, their own sense of identity, because I think some of the stereotypes put on men are quite limiting for.
Looks like she's done some homework, because what she said about the men, committing suicide, and yeah, she's done some homework. Oh yeah.
As well. I think they make men quite unhappy as well.
The devil's in the details with regards to equality, because I'm an advocate of equality of opportunity. But
And
I think
outcomes.
the idea outcomes, that's an appalling doctrine.
Why?
Why?
All right.
Oh man, he's cooking up. Jordan Peterson's cooking up. Well, I gotta say, he's right. He said, I watched quite a bit of his content, and it always gets political. Now, in his country, they want to take his license away from him because he doesn't want to get on their agenda. That's the word. It's pretty bad. Anyway, please comment about the video. I'm gladly appreciate it. I would gladly want to know your thoughts on it. Please comment. God bless.